What's up, guys? It's your Toto Hammer. You're back with another live review, and today's live review is going to be the qualifying review of the Bahrain Grand Prix. Yeah, qualifying starting now. You can see the live timings are there, right there. So yeah, let's watch on and see who gets pole, who gets the top three, and yeah, let's see what happens. Who gets the top three? Yeah. Let's play this audio.
Lap say that between the first safety car line and the second
the
safety
audio.
car line, you've got to do a maximum of 1 minute and 53 seconds. You can't go any slower than that. We'll see if any of the drivers are tiptoeing around a little bit more than that, and we won't be looking at track limits at all for this session. We were yesterday, but the race director Michael Massey has decided overnight, forget turn 4 in the track limits. It's not an advantage. So if you see cars going wide off the track, the presumption from the FIA is that they're not gaining an advantage to do it.
Yeah, I think the drivers were beating up on him in their Zoom meeting last night, but should a car in the race overtake by going around the outside, all four wheels off the track, they will still be hauled up in front of the stewards effectively during the race, because that won't be allowed. I don't know why we don't just stick to all the track limits and make it so much more easy to understand, but the drivers want to. They wouldn't be, if it wasn't faster, they wouldn't be out there. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's what we've got. Lewis had some issues at the end of free practice 3. The energy recovery system lights on the car were giving some problems, so he lost
qualifying
a little bit of time.
start now. Green flag. Green flag.
Verstappen had a
qualifying one is now started. Russell comes out first.
That's flapping away like a bird in flight. They've decided that that needs fixing, and
George
have
Russell
fixed it
come out
down at Red Bull. So all should be set. Here's George Russell out on the track, the first car to come out onto the track for this qualifying
first car.
session. If he out-qualifies his teammate today, makes it 36-0 against his teammate in Formula 1, which would equal
if Russell out-qualifies his teammate, he's going to hold his 100% record of 36-0.
Nelson Piquet set
qualifying
between the
his
Italian
teammate.
Grand Prix in 1979 and the Belgian Grand Prix
That's
in
good for
1982. So far in his career, I've not mentioned George Russell and Nelson Piquet in the same sentence. I'm glad I finally got it in.
Yeah, I bet George would give several of those away for some World Championship points, though, on a Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, no one's come out yet, just George Russell.
Tied as
doing
he
his
is
laps.
with Max Chilton on the all-time
Okay,
list
it's,
for most
time.
starts without a point. Good afternoon,
Oh,
Max Chilton.
yeah, I'm just changing it
35
solo.
races,
I'm just changing it right now.
But I'm sure that point will come eventually for George Russell. So we're off and underway, qualifying at a circuit, Ted Kravitz, and in 2006 we introduced this current qualifying format, and bar an aberration by the FIA a couple of seasons ago, I'm glad to say we're still using now.
God, we've gone all the way since 2006 without changing some sort of qualifying system.
Well, we did, and then it didn't work for a couple of races, and we changed it back again.
Yeah, 16 minutes until Q1 is over. Just Russell's out there at the moment, like I said. All the other cars are at the garage for some reason.
Well, don't be surprised, because it's made of the same aggregate, or similar aggregate. And we've got a nice and grippy track, unlike in Istanbul a couple of weeks ago. So the drivers are really looking forward to this one, apart from the people who can't seem to get their cars to go particularly quickly round here. And they are, unfortunately, the Williams, as we're looking at right now, just passes me, car number 63.
Yeah, Russell going for fly now.
About 0.4 of a second in order to be sure of getting out of Q1 from his free practice 3 time. We'll see if he can do that. It's quite a big ask, but otherwise they're towards the back with Kimi Raikkonen, Kevin Magnussen, Roman Grosjean as well, and
so
Nicholas Latifi. So it's the Alfa
Russell sector 1
and the Haas drivers just struggling to get a little bit of pace around.
Go through the mini Mackets and Beckett's.
Talking about the aggregates here in
I call
Bahrain,
it.
Without giving it its name. It's the grey whacker.
His first sector was a 29.1.
Aggregate, and it comes from just near Shrewsbury in Shropshire.
And of course, they wanted to make the surface.
Go around the corner,
grippy
deep braking
here.
zone now.
Concerns, I remember when we first came here in 2004, of sand on the
Deep
racetrack.
braking zone.
So, being that we're in the desert, and is George Russell all at sea, or can he find?
Yeah,
some grip?
George
He
Russell
doesn't
doing
have to
good.
Crank the steering wheel into turn 1 to get the car to head remotely near.
Verstappen's out there now, Max Verstappen.
There is a worry if you tiptoe too slowly.
So a time on the board.
Here, you arrive
Russell,
with the brakes and tyres just a little bit too cold.
109.2, a bit slow, but you know he's not really going for a push.
Max Verstappen joining
the engines
George
are not
Russell
turned up yet.
On the track now, as Red Bull want to have a look at that rear wing to make sure that they fixed it properly and it's everything is working. Russell to the last 2 corners here. Well, they are 2 corners officially.
Yeah, Russell.
But every single driver,
might go for an
including
in-lap.
Martin Brundle, that's ever driven this circuit.
Yeah, he goes for an in-lap.
Decided to abort that lap.
You want in Max Verstappen going for a lap now?
Of course,
got second sector.
Really a corner is where
second sector's green. That's the best.
So it was still enough of a corner because he went wide in 14, but 14 and 15 do very much make one big arc.
So George Russell comes back into the pits. Early foray out onto the circuit for him, and Max Verstappen now the only driver on the circuit. Max Verstappen, 5 previous starts here in Bahrain, has never started.
Yeah, Max Verstappen has 5 previous starts in Bahrain. Max Verstappen sets his time on the board.
Especially this season, but
there's probably going for laps, and he's coming in the pit lane.
In the turbo hybrid era since 2014, never been in the top 3 in qualifying. Not really a surprise at all.
The F1 cars are like patients, aren't they, in hospital? When they go in the garage, they need an umbilical cord plugging into them. Areas are being cooled, others are being warmed, and pumps are being run, and basically you're keeping the car alive.
Yes, the Formula 1 version of an incubator on that one. So George Russell, not for the first time in recent races, aborting that lap, leaving Max
Verstappen has out-qualified Albon 14-0 this season, so he keeps his 100% record.
No life for a skid block, is it? Look at that.
Now Grosjean, Magnussen has come out now,
and all the race kit on, and
Latifi,
George Russell again, it pushes the car towards the track, and that's why we're seeing.
Yeah, Solo, any idiots will be instantly blocked.
The car lifts back up again as the aero load falls away. There is the wide run they're allowed around the outside of.
Yep, Verstappen, 2 fastest sectors on a flyer.
A roll in the car, a little bit of fight he had through turn 6 and 7.
Yeah, he put him fight in the wheel in turn 6 and 7.
Straighten the car as quickly as you can.
Verstappen going to the deep braking zone now. He goes first with a 128.8.
Before you get to this, the slowest point of 10. Again, you want to straighten the car for best traction. Stay on the right-hand side because it's a left-hander coming up.
Yeah, left-hander coming up. Right, stay at the right-hand side while it's possible.
Swing it in.
Right-hand side. And guys, if you want to go follow us on my Twitch, go follow us on my Twitch. Links are below.
Over the top of the blind crest. Now it's downhill. The car's all on the nose here. A little bit of a clumsy corner, but super important.
Yeah, clumsy corner here.
The final 2 corners, 14.
Yeah, go fast with 128.5. There's a little delay on the audio.
Slowest on the way in, then it opens up through the exit, but it's slippery on the outside.
Yeah, open up the DRS,
Keep it on
128.
the side, a relatively short run to the line, and we've got Max then on a 28.8. He did a 28.3 in free practice.
Yeah, nearly in the. He was in a 28.3s in free practice. He was in a 28.8s in qualifying 1. It's just qualifying 1.
To his comparable best lap time last year in Q1, a 128.4 from Charles Leclerc was the fastest time in that session. Ted, to you.
Yeah.
And if you were transfixed by the lovely sparks,
fastest time so far. People have not come out. They're a big good like Lewis Hamilton or Mercedes, Ferrari, McLaren, Renault. They haven't come out yet.
From free practice 3. All look more lovely sparks, and it was. So
yeah, Verstappen's picking up sparks so far. Yeah, he's picking up sparks.
In his rear wing that you're allowed to use on 2 parts.
Albon's in the garage.
Every lap.
Everybody's out so far.
In qualifying.
Now Albon's out.
And of course in the race only when you're
Albon's out the garage onto the track.
Of course, but 2 normally we have, but and sometimes just 1 DRS zone actually. But in the race you're only allowed to use that when you're within 1 second of the car in front of you.
I know McLaren and Racing Point and Renault are involved in quite a decent tussle for 3rd place in the championship at the moment, but they've sent 2 McLarens, a Renault and a Racing Point, out very closely together there. We've waited 6 or 7 minutes for cars to come out of the track, then they all arrive at once and they all get in each other's way.
Yeah, everybody's packing up now as a train. Everybody's packing up.
See how that sorts itself out throughout the lap, and everybody now out on this circuit.
Yeah, absolutely. 20 of 20 out on the track.
Kevin Magnussen, who's tied at 7 apiece with his teammate Romain Grosjean in qualifying for this season. It's also 7 apiece between Carlos Sainz and Lando Norris as well in McLaren. In fact, over the course of 2 seasons,
on a flyer,
teammates, Lando
on a
Norris
lap
leads
now.
18-17. In what is
Kevin
by far the
Magnussen,
closest
sector 1
interteam
is
battle
personal
when it
best.
comes to,
Lewis
qualifying.
Hamilton
So
and
Kevin
Martin Bottas out there.
who does enjoy this circuit, has to be said. In the past, he's had decent results here and has qualified top
Magnussen
6
and
on a
Grosjean
couple of
doing some
occasions
laps.
last 2 years as well. Let's
To
see
see
if
what
he can use that
Magnussen's first
experience
sector, yes,
in what is,
personal
the
best,
final,
sector
the
1
first
for
of the
him.
final 3 races in Formula 1 to good effect.
Lewis Hamilton,
And a very
sector
wide
1
entry into
fastest
turn 4 and a very
for
wide
Lewis
exit
Hamilton.
as well. Carried a lot
Kevin
of speed
Magnussen
through
goes
there.
second place with
Yeah,
130.5, and Nicholas Tiffy goes third place
This is the tricky
with
one. Looks easy enough from this
130.7.
camera
Now
angle,
Kevin
but,
now
as
Roman
soon as you
Grosjean
turn the
goes
steering
second
wheel,
place with
you unload
130.5.
the left-hand tyre going down the hill into 10, and it'll lock up as easy as you like, and then you lose.
Yeah,
As
Hamilton's
soon
on
as
the fly
tyre's
now.
not
2
rotating,
fastest sectors from
you're
Lewis Hamilton.
losing, braking performance.
2 fastest
Max
sectors.
Verstappen, we saw his lap. Lewis Hamilton has just started his first flying lap, already 3/10 up on Max through the first sector. As Kevin Magnussen now makes his way.
Yeah, Lewis Hamilton
down
goes first
what
place
should
with
really be the long back straight. Look, they're all
128.3.
queuing up there,
Good
waiting
time.
to find a
Daniel
gap
Fiat goes
to
third place with
start a flying
129.7.
lap.
Antonio
Ricciardo's just got past
Giovinazzi
Ocon,
goes 5th
Ricciardo,
place with
Albon,
129.9, and
who's just making way
Sergio
for
Perez
Romain
goes
Grosjean, to
3rd
follow
place
through
with
as well.
129.1.
Magnussen crosses the line. It's a 130.7 for the Haas.
Yeah, Pierre Gasly goes
His
3rd
teammate
place with
Romain Grosjean going a little
128.9.
bit faster than that, with a 130.5 for him. Is Lewis Hamilton, purple through the middle sector as well, another 3/10 up on Max Verstappen through the middle part of the lap. Round the final corner, he comes in car number 44, 9 poles this season for Lewis Hamilton, and it's a
Hamilton's 9 poles this season. Valtteri Bottas goes 2nd place to a 128.7.
Giovinazzi going 3rd fastest ahead of his
So
teammate
Lewis Hamilton's
Kimi
locking out the front row. And I mean,
close as
Mercedes are
well.
locking out the
That's
front row.
Alfa
Max
Romeo
Verstappen
this year.
3rd.
He leads 8-6 in terms of the qualifying standings. Sergio Perez, who started 3rd in the last race, 3rd fastest for the moment. Pierre Gasly soon goes a little bit quicker than that by a couple of tenths as well. And here comes Valtteri Bottas, who took his maiden pole here a couple of years ago with a 128.7, goes 2nd fastest.
And we got Verstappen.
Yeah,
the
racing. The
track
racing
again,
points in
for
McLaren
another
and
run.
AlphaTauri
We know he
looking
can
good.
do a low 1:28 as well in that car. He's
So
already
far, so
proven that
good.
once today, but relatively close to pack, isn't it, on such a long lap when you look at it. 28s and 29s in a 90-second lap. We're getting to that stage of the season where they've really refined their cars.
Here's interesting, Sebastian Vettel, who has more poles than anyone
Yeah,
else.
Lewis
on the
Hamilton
grid this
into
weekend.
the pit
Another
lane.
driver, here in Bahrain goes 8th fastest. His teammate Charles Leclerc.
Yeah, a few
only
people's in the
12th
pit lane
fastest.
now.
Ocon puts
If you
himself
see
up
the red
into the
number
top
on
7,
the
and he and his
16th or
teammate
17th
Daniel
place,
Ricciardo
it means we're in the pit lane.
separated by just a
Say
few
99
thousandths of a
red,
second, a little bit
means
more on
we're
this
in the pit
occasion
lane.
as Ricciardo comes home 11th fastest, and now Alex Albon goes into the top 8 as well, a second off the pace of Lewis Hamilton. Difference between himself and his teammate Max Verstappen at round about half a second.
The Racing Points changed their setup quite dramatically.
Yeah,
after
Racing
free
Point's been
practice
changing their
three, so
setup as
they're
well.
Going into this a little bit unknown, I'd imagine, but they just
About
weren't
5 minutes
satisfied with
until
their pace,
qualifying 1 is
in
over.
the earlier session.
It's a team at the last race as well that said they might need to put a bit more emphasis on their qualifying performance. And
What is that, guys? Gonna put the audio back on. The audio have a delay, so yeah. So far, that's the results. Not the final results, but you know. Why is the audio not working? Audio, play. Looks like I have to set up this audio again. Wait a sec. I'll be gonna sort this out. Yep, just gonna do this thingy, the audio. I'll be right back. So go to this F1. Yeah, it's on now, the audio.
0.8 to be short,
Yeah, back on.
getting out of this session clean.
Thanks ever so much, Ted. Pierre Gasly absolutely loves this circuit.
George Russell, the
Just
only one
really-
out
he
there
really
at the
did
moment.
hit the headlines,
Russell.
didn't he, with
Russell.
that qualifying 5th on the grid a couple of years ago, finishing 4th in the race.
Yeah. Gasly's flying along nicely, but I don't know. It's, you know, please don't send me out into that traffic.
Yeah,
but
Roman Grosjean
you
and Kevin
don't
Magnussen back
know
up there.
when the other 18 cars are going to go out and where they are in the pit lane relative to you.
Vettel
Obviously,
out there
you
as well.
Probably know where when the car across the garage is going out.
Charles
But that's
Leclerc.
about it. I don't really know as an engineer when all 20 hit the track quite what you can do. He's got a bit of traffic anyway, but less than last time.
Roman Grosjean coming out of the garage. He's been knocked out in Q1 of the last 5 races. He's out on the track with his teammate Kevin Magnussen, and the Kimi Raikkonen Alfa Romeo down in 17th. Antonio Giovinazzi 13th at the moment. Both Alfa Romeos in the
Mercedes
top
are
10
doing good and Red
in the
Bull.
last race. And
In my
Lewis
opinion,
Hamilton coming out.
Hamilton's getting
once
pole.
again.
Lewis Hamilton
Well, they
getting
don't
pole.
really need these tyres, do they, anymore for the weekend? It's not a particularly good race tyre, so they may as well use up their allocation and get themselves ready.
We'll see them on the yellow stripe.
Yeah,
mediums.
everybody's coming out now to
Q2.
do their final
Just to
finishing
get a
touches
feel. When
nearly
it comes
because
to Q3,
it's
they'll
2
put the softs
minutes
on,
until
once again, but the
qualifying
reason
1 is
they'll
over.
go for the mediums in Q2 is that's a better race tyre to start on, and whatever tyre you use to set your fastest lap in the second part of qualifying to get into the top 10, that's the tyre you start the race on as well. So it just throws a little bit of strategic importance into that second session, into the mix.
And normally the teams, and for each of the cars, they can request their allocation. But because of the times we're in and the lead times
everybody's on their
getting
outlap
tyres
now.
for this really
About to
compressed
finish
season,
it.
it
1
has
minute
been
and 58
decided
seconds
they will
until
get 2 sets
qualifying
of
is
the white mark
over.
hard, 3 sets of the yellow mark medium, and 8 sets of the softs, and they've all got exactly the same. So it's probably not ideal at all. So they're having to go through those tyres in a way that they wouldn't necessarily want to do so.
How many sets do they want of next year's tyres? Somewhere between 0 and 0, I think, compared to considering what the teams were saying about the tyres yesterday. But, you know, Pirelli say we're going to go forward with these tyres for next
final
season.
lap
And
for
don't
all the
forget you're
drivers
testing
now. Russell
next
going
year's
on one.
tyres on this year's cars.
Let's
So
see
it
how
might be a bit
Russell
different
does.
in a few months' time. So George Russell starting once again, and this will be his final lap to try and get
Russell's
out
final
of the
lap to
bottom
try and get
5,
out of
which he has done
Q1.
on 8 occasions.
Let's see
during
how
the
he
course
does.
of this, season. You can see the brake disc glowing there as he heads into turn 1.
Yeah, if you remember when I was out there last night, the Williams have much
See
hotter
Russell's,
front discs, different
let's see
materials they use
Russell's
for
sector.
the brake
Let's see
pad
Russell's
and the
sector.
disc, but there's no
See
doubt
how he
about it.
does.
It was the Williams that was glowing far and away the brightest.
Yeah,
So
any
onwards
idiots
then,
will be
for
blocked.
George Russell, and look at that improvement.
Guys, just be
by nearly
nice.
half
That's all you have to do.
a second,
The same
better
in
for a
the
time he
key
needs to
on my
get
channel.
out of that bottom
So,
5 track evolution.
Yeah, Russell on
will
another
be,
one now.
ramping
Fastest
up these
sector 1.
speeds as the temperature drops slightly and gives the drivers
I think he's
better
fastest
grip
out of the
and
bottom
better
5 so
conditions
far.
for this qualifying
Charles
session.
Leclerc is
Russell
a driver at
28.2
risk.
in the first sector. Sebastian Vettel, who we out-qualified a couple of times in recent races, only a 10th slower. Charles Leclerc has matched George Russell through the first sector. Grosjean and Magnussen
Leclerc's
both a couple
matched
of
George
tenths
Russell in the
off
first
the
sector.
Williams driver.
George is on all the right
Now
parts of the
Russell
racetrack, there's no doubt about that.
on a lap.
Whether he's carrying quite enough speed, but he's obviously carrying what he thinks he can get away with.
Yeah, he's
in the
carrying
Williams.
good
That was
speed.
lovely,
Carrying
yeah.
good speed.
So effectively, he's
2
got one
fast
braking
sectors,
decision to
2
make
personal
down
bests.
the bottom of the hill, and 1 turn in
Up on his time.
What is that traffic? Look at that.
38.5 for the middle sector. For
Yeah,
George
38.5
Russell,
for the middle sector.
Sebastian Vettel. Vettel's just gone a 10th
Come
faster
on.
in the middle sector. It's nip and tuck, isn't it, between the Williams and the Ferrari?
He goes
George
8th
Russell
place. George
improves
Russell,
enough to go
129.2.
8th
Now
overall.
9th place.
Where's Sebastian
Yes.
Vettel going to move?
Oh,
up into
Sebastian
6th
Vettel up to
fastest
6th
in the
place.
Ferrari, 3-time pole sitter. Here
Let's
in
see what
Bahrain
Russell can
in
do. Let's
previous
see if he
years.
can make it
Magnussen
into
can't
Q2.
get out of the bottom
Come on,
5.
come on,
Roman
Russell.
Grosjean is next across the line. His teammate in the hat.
No one's
He can't
improved
get
in the
out of
bottom 5
either.
yet.
That's 6 races in a row.
No one's
He's been knocked
improved.
out in Q1.
Leclerc's Leclerc goes 6th fastest.
Himself out of danger and goes 6th fastest. George
Russell's still safe. Russell's still safe.
As Danny Kvyat goes into the top
All the other
8,
driver needs to do his laps.
Giovinazzi puts himself up into 14th.
Now Raikkonen up to 15th.
Into the bottom 5. We can
Raikkonen is the driver at risk.
He makes his way down the home straight, trying to get out of the bottom 5.
All Ricciardo up to 6th place. Russell down to 13th. Not looking good.
Lando Norris has gone fastest.
Not looking good, George Russell.
The first sector is Lance Stroll.
George Russell's still 14th. Lando Norris just needs to do Albon goes up to 3rd. Pushes George Russell down.
Sergio Perez was 12th in the standings and stays
12th. Perez might go out. Norris just needs to do his lap. Norris gets fast in sector 1.
Personal best through the first and second sectors. Lando Norris not particularly quick through the middle sector.
Yeah, not quick for Lando Norris in the middle sector. Yellow sector.
Stays in the bottom 5.
Yeah, Russell's a savage, man.
Russell is currently 14th. This man, Lando Norris, is the
Lando Norris won't do any good
because he knows that he is safe. And
yeah, Russell goes through to Q2. George Russell.
So it's good enough for Lando Norris to
get
through, and it's good enough for
George Russell into Q2.
Well.
Nice.
It is 36-0 against his teammates.
The McLaren of Lando Norris could have went out, but it was safe because all the other drivers did their laps, and it was high enough.
And his teammate.
P18. Yeah, no big surprise there. I tried too hard, mate. I wanted to enjoy it. And,
yeah, Norris helped him. That's why he didn't go on the fast one. Norris helped Russell.
Hopefully it's not too bad.
I know he didn't need to get to the lap because all the others behind him has done the lap. So
cracking lap
yeah,
from,
Russell was high enough, 8th place to keep
very
safe.
Much enjoying the revised setup on his racing point. Look at him up there in P2. That's a great time.
Russell's safe.
So Nicholas Latifi, he's only
Nicholas Latifi plumb last, qualifies his teammate for the 33rd time. 33rd time because that's the first 33 times that he qualified his teammate.
Eliminated Antonio Giovinazzi as well in this first part of qualifying.
Yeah, Latifi's still out there.
Safnar is with us on the Racing Point pit wall. Otmar, setup changes then between FP3
yeah, Racing Point's done setup changes again.
Take us through what you needed to do.
Yeah, we had a look at wing level and the effect on performance here over a lap. So we made some
good
changes.
Performance.
And that's really about it.
Lance Stroll up there in second, 12th place is Sergio Perez for qualifying 1.
Very similar. Lance made some further changes. Sergio felt that his balance was about where he wanted it, so Lance made some further changes to Sergio.
So a lot of people might be looking at those times and saying, right, Lance Stroll, second fastest. Is this a chance for a Racing Point pole again?
Racing Point was looking strong all weekend. Not all weekend, but practice 1 and 2. And practice 3 as well.
Our expectations are for us to get both of them into Q3 and then see how far up we can get into Q3. I think pole might be a step too far here.
And for the middle part of this qualifying session, have you made a decision on what tyres you think might be best, mediums or softs?
Yeah, we have, and it won't be much longer, and everybody will know.
And we're seeing a lot of almost stationary cars out there trying to stay out of the way, Otmar. That looks a bit sketchy.
Yeah, I mean, the more people that are out, the easier it is with track position. So
yeah, track position is easier if more people are out.
Otmar, thank you very much. We'll be back with you at the end of Q2. In the meantime, let's head down to Simon.
Yeah, Giovinazzi, Raikkonen, Magnussen, Grosjean and Latifi out there, and George Russell once again getting out of Q1. He keeps on doing it, and a big difference between him and his teammate. Why is he so good on a Saturday, Damon? It'd be interesting to get your take.
Yeah, Stroll, I think he's got better qualifying pace than Sergio Perez. I think Perez is better than the race than Stroll. Yeah, bottom 5 that is disqualified is 16th, Antonio Giovinazzi out, disqualified. Kimi Raikkonen 17th, disqualified. 18th, Kevin Magnussen, disqualified. 19th, Roman Grosjean, disqualified. And 20th, Nicholas Latifi, disqualified. That's the bottom 5.
very neat, really. It's not very dramatic.
Yeah, it was always solo.
Yeah. Going on. Oh, sorry, that's Paul there.
That's Paul. That's Paul. Yeah. Paul. Yeah. With regards to the way he performs, he absolutely last year, every single occasion on a Saturday out qualifying Robert Kubica. He could do it again this year, which in itself to go 2 seasons unbeaten in qualifying would be remarkable.
I think there's no doubt he will do. I think where people want to see him more measured is in the race on a Sunday afternoon to grab the result and beat his teammate in the championship, of course. Get a point for Williams that he deserves, but you know, the balance looked hooked up there, obviously working very well with his engineers in the background and getting it done. It's just whether the chances open up the grid or whether you fall out of luck purely because the Mercedes seats are secure and whether the teams think they've got enough data to take you upon what your teammates have done.
So the strong evolution, just to come back to you, Paul, isn't there in the track here? So you can see why the traffic's going to build up, jostling for position.
Yeah, it's cooler, and obviously the later you go the better because it's nicely rubbered in. I think obviously Verstappen was out there early purely to check that wing, that issue that he had, and obviously at the end of FP3. But I suspect it will be more normal going into this session, and some people will be out there on the medium tyres. They will naturally want to do a quicker outlap. They won't want to preserve the tyres quite as much as they were in the soft, because the softs, you have to tickle them around there, don't take any stress and open up across the line. The medium, it just may require that little bit more because it's actually quite cool for this time of year at this part of the world.
All right, let's see. Back upstairs to Martin and David.
Yeah, qualifying 2 starting now. 40 minutes until qualifying 2. Is it over?
Down in the paddock. Almost time to see the cars out on the track. We do have a green light, but as that first part of qualifying proved there, the later you leave it, the better in terms of the track conditions. So it might be a while before
the cars come out of the garage. Reporting.
We get to see what tyres they're going to be on. Otmar Safnauer in the manner of Father Christmas, who won't reveal what presents the children are going to get before they find them on Christmas Day, is in no mood to tell us whether it's softs or mediums for the leading teams. But Ted Kravitz in the grandstand, you'll spot them coming out of the garage first.
Well, I will, but considering that Racing Point are kind of thinking about, well, they always do, all the teams do, about tomorrow's race.
Yeah, so far so good.
TM Sergio Perez is thinking of
no
being
one's
the
come
only
out
person
yet.
Or one of the few people
no
who
one's
can do
come
a
out.
one-stop, make a one-stop work.
Yeah,
then they kind of have to go to the medium tyres, don't they? Unless they want to use all 3 compounds. I think we might see some teams use all 3, the red, the yellow and the white tyres tomorrow. The reason why, of course, is because we've got one step softer on all the tyres compared to last year. But, wow, Lando Norris scraped through that, didn't he, Crofty? With a 15th place, a 129.464 compared to Giovinazzi, 121.491. So 300ths of a second. Lando Norris was in danger.
No one's come out yet. They're still staying in the garage.
So he did back off on that lap. They knew that they weren't under threat from behind, Ted. So
confidence. I'd like to have that confidence.
I think that I'd like to have the trademark on Christmas T-shirts that say "Ooh, Sparks." Now,
right. Okay. Sorry.
I think Martin and I could make a fortune selling those at a market stall.
They're titanium, by the way, everybody. I don't know if you've said that already.
Is that for the back of the T-shirt?
Yeah, they're titanium, by the way. And, of course, they hit the ground and then they molt, instantly kind of melt. And that's what the sparks are, as they sort of burn off together and disappear into the ether. But Lance Stroll, I don't know if you heard it on the radio, just saying how brilliant the car is now, as you've been referring to. Just says there's so much more grip now with the changes they've made. So he's a happy boy in the second Racing Point.
Impressive. Racing Point have had a good stab at that then and got it right first time. 1.8 seconds.
Yeah, no one's come out yet.
When you think that
Daniel Fiat's the first one to come out now.
The tyres, but the
Daniel Fiat in the AlphaTauri.
You can see flashing there, and 1 or 2 other, FIA parts.
Yeah.
Interchange between the lot of them. It's incredible, really, that they can go around here relatively so closely. Medium tyres there, then, as we saw on the Racing Point, and this is going to be tough. It's very, very close, isn't it? Sort of between 5th and 15th, incredibly close.
Yeah, everyone's coming out now. Lewis Hamilton, Valtteri Bottas, Pierre Gasly, so on, etc.
No Williams, first time that we hadn't seen any of those legendary teams in the top 10 since the 1967 South African Grand Prix at Kyalami. I wonder what we'll see for this evening. Here's interesting. McLaren coming out on the medium tyre. with Carlos Sainz, Renault with Esteban Ocon on the medium tyres as well, and as
Yeah,
you would
Ocon
expect,
on the
Lewis
medium
Hamilton
tyres,
on the mediums,
Ocon.
Stroll, Valtteri Bottas on the mediums too. In fact, the only ones on the soft so far, Daniel
Yeah,
Kvyat
Ocon
and Pierre
on the
Gasly.
medium tyres, Ocon.
Now for Towers.
So it's showing 11 on track at the moment, but it looked like more than that, didn't it? It looked like a lot more, but
So the helicopter makes a bank turn, and
Yeah, 11 minutes until qualifying one is over.
so these are the cars out on the track as it stands at the moment, and the tyres that they're all on. Lando Norris now joins the fray as well. He too is on the medium compound tyre, which you can understand on a surface that is abrasive, that does chew up the tyres quite a bit. If you can get into Q3 on these mediums, it just gives you a much better
So far,
option
no one's
for the start
done a
of
lap
racing
yet.
first
Charles
stint.
Leclerc starting a
Verstappen
lap,
and Albon have now joined
along
the
with
party.
Ricardo, Vettel,
So
Daniel
we've got
Kvyat,
14 of the
Sergio
15
Perez.
cars on track.
And they're all going nice and slowly, as you would expect, to try and keep the juice in those tyres for as long as they possibly
Yeah,
can.
so far they're keeping
Daniel Ricciardo, who
juice in the
never
tyres.
qualified
Say,
in the top
yeah,
three here, was
Daniel
fourth on the
Ricciardo has
grid in
qualified
2017
Ocon
and
13-1 this
2018
season.
for his
13
best
to 1.
efforts in qualifying here at the Sakir circuit. 2 podiums to his
Yeah,
name so
they're
far
getting a
this
little
season.
faster
Sets
now.
off
Ricardo
another
goes
flying lap for
fastest.
Renault.
Wonderful feeling.
He's starting his lap
Minimal
first,
fuel,
so
maximum
Ricardo.
power, brand new set
So
of
does on his
tyres.
lap. His
And
little
for
his
Daniel
flyer.
Ricciardo, the whole tractor himself, floodlit with 495 light poles, and he's, look at that, the track in front of you, happy days. What can he do in turn 4?
Well, hopefully stay within track limits, but the FIA are
Let's
monitoring.
see,
as some of our viewers are saying,
Ricardo
why doesn't he
does,
just turn
he's
left
on
and go
a
straight to
good
turn
one
11
right now.
and cut the lap. It might be a bit dark through there.
He's on a good one. Ricardo goes fastest in the first sector, 28.2.
illuminating that part of the circuit.
Yellow
So
flag.
AlphaTauri have gone out on
Yellow
soft
flag,
tyres,
someone's
and
spun
everybody
off
else
or something.
that, we've seen so far.
Let's see it.
George Russell's still in the pits, but all of the others on the medium yellow mark tyres.
Absolutely right.
Yeah, everybody in the
Someone
medium
down
yellow
at
mark
turn one has
tyres.
just gone a little
Yellow
bit
flag
wider
sector 1.
than they would have wanted, and there's some double
They're not showing
yellow
that on the screen
flags
at the
being
moment.
waved down there, and it's a McLaren that's actually
Sainz.
stopped there at
Carlos
turn
Sainz stopped
one,
or
and
somewhere?
I think it's Carlos Sainz down there. It is Carlos Sainz.
Sainz is
down
stopped.
there, and
Red
that's
flag for
Valtteri
qualifying.
Bottas,
Red
goes
flag,
to
red
start the
flag.
flying lap is going to force him to slow down.
Ricardo was on a good lap as well.
And they've red flagged the session as the car is still stranded down there.
Yeah,
So
the
we have
McLaren
a
just
red
stopped
flag
for
and
some
session
reason. Probably an
stopped,
engine problem or
which for
mechanical
those
failure.
on a flying lap is
But the
not good
McLaren
news at
just
all.
stopped.
So he dropped it, the rear axle locked. We'll have a look and see if we can see why.
Yeah, there's no drive. It's like something is blocked at the rear, like the rear tires are blocked.
Yeah, no drive for Sainz, no drive.
And I'd imagine, we're going to see in a minute, it's almost like pulling the handbrake on, basically, as he's gone into the corner. And that spoiled an awful lot of laps, didn't it? In fact, it spoiled everybody's lap, hasn't it?
Either those that had now come back into the pits, but for
Yeah,
some
they've
they
red
were
flagged the
on a
session.
flying lap and halfway through it. Let's have a little look now at what happened to the McLaren.
It was exactly like pulling the handbrake on, wasn't it? Yeah, I mean, he'd got it completely under control, and then you could see the right rears look solid. And if that's a gearbox change, might give him a grid penalty as well, for good measure.
Oh, well,
Yeah, he just lost
horrible feeling
drive.
This must have been approaching.
He
over
spun,
200 miles
he
an
spun,
hour
then his
into
car
that
just
corner and
couldn't
then sent
get back
spinning-
and going,
spinning
couldn't get
around.
going, so
And
he's
because
lost
it's
drive, he has no drive in his
wrecked the
car.
tyres as well for good measure. But those that were out, you've done your out lap.
No drive.
Yep.
You've started your hot lap. You know, then you come back. So you've really taken the very best out of those tyres already. So absolutely nobody with a lap on the board at the moment in Q2.
Clock stops at 9 minutes and 10 seconds.
Yeah,
Still enough
9
to
minutes
get
and
a
10
couple of
seconds to
laps in.
stop the clock.
Now, I would imagine all go out on those tyres again. It hurts more, does it? Gasly and Kvyat, who are on the soft tyres, it certainly hurt them more. George Russell hadn't come out at all, and you can see why the session has been stopped and why we've had this red flag, because they just haven't been able to get
Yeah, no times are
McLaren
set.
going or to move under its own steam. So the marshals will all go down there and push it away. Which gives us a very good time to mention that this weekend is FIA Volunteers Weekend, bringing the global motorsport community together, giving thanks to those who support and make events like Formula One, all the way down to club events as well possible. To the marshals that we look at the moment, all volunteers who give up their time to make sure that we can go racing. Massive thanks.
Oh yeah, right rear tyres are locked, Carlos Sainz, yeah. Right rear tyres.
Absolutely. Couldn't go racing without them. Just wouldn't be any.
They just need to take that car off, then we can get the qualifying 2 back and going.
And able to help out.
Up and going again.
On track, in the pit lane, wherever. So Carlos is having a bit of a look around, trying to work that out, but it's going to be something internally.
Yes,
certainly not driver error.
That's, from a sporting perspective, a blow for McLaren in the fight for 3rd place in the Constructors' Championships. They have 149 points, 5 points behind Racing Points, and 13 ahead of Renault, 19 ahead of Ferrari. But they're going to have
19 ahead of Ferrari,
starting further down the grid than they would have expected on that one. So Carlos Sainz will walk back to the pits, and we'll have a best possible start at the moment of 15th in the race tomorrow evening. So the clock stopped at 9 minutes and 10 seconds due to the incidents involving Carlos Sainz and a mechanical problem that saw his McLaren stranded down at turn 1. We have no time on the board whatsoever in this second part of qualifying, and a lot of very unhappy drivers who had their laps ruined either halfway through their flying lap or towards the beginning of it.
Sainz.
This is what happened to Carlos Sainz.
Bad for him.
Sent into...
He'll be starting... Plum, he will be starting 15th place.
It won't be long before the
yeah, he will be starting 15th place, Carlos Sainz.
Recovered Carlos Sainz's orange McLaren has just pulled to a nice gap and is going to clear the track. The yellow flags will go back in, and then they can give the drivers and all the teams some notice. A couple of minutes until the session goes live once again. Understandably, all gutted down in the McLaren garage that I can see across the way, across the track here from the pit lane. Tom Stallard, Carlos Sainz's engineer, just sort of hunched over the central console desk, studying the data, looking at what it was. Was it something that locked the rear axle, some issue with the gearbox, something with the hydraulics, something? They'll know, they'll be going through the data, and they'll want to check that it's something that won't affect Lando Norris on the other side of the garage. It's looking pretty good going into this session. A strong free practice 3 and high hopes of what is McLaren's, of course, second home Grand Prix.
Yes, 67% worth of a home
Grand
Prix.
It's going to be
part owned, of course, by the Bahraini Wealth Fund, and I'm
yeah,
sure
I do report.
a lot of keen interest this weekend.
Yeah, session will restart at 17:38
at
local time, which is
35 to go before the light is on,
which is 7:08.
And then I'm assuming they'll all be wanting, very keen to get out there. You're only really going to get one run now, aren't you?
Yeah, 7:08. The session will start.
You've got to, if you get back in, you've got to fuel it back in the garage. So it depends how quickly they get out there. I'm sure if they have to abandon a lap, there might still be some time to get that in. But
so you're looking at 5 minutes, aren't you, for an out lap, time lap, and an in lap. Leaves you 4 minutes.
Yep, drivers are coming out now. It's back up and rolling.
And get back out there again. So
green flag shot now.
Depends if you get stopped with the weighbridge, of course. The check with the FIA checks, so
which is a random check just to make sure the cars are legal. But yeah, you might be feeling
back
that the
going.
random
9 minutes
is
and
very
10
much
still.
against you.
Green flag needs to come
out.
out.
The weighbridge there. I wonder the Alpha Tauris might just do the one run here because they were the 2 cars on the soft tyres in that first part of Q2 before the red flag. Ted, to you.
Yeah, they were on the soft tyre because they only have one set of new mediums left.
Right.
Yeah, waiting.
So
let's
I'm
wait.
expecting them to go out on the.
Come on,
on
bring the
mediums.
red green flag out. Come on.
Verstappen and Albon are have gone out on new mediums. You would have seen
Lando.
Nice
I think I saw Lando come out
new
first as well. Yeah, I think Lando come out first.
But has everyone else got another set of new mediums, I wonder?
I believe Mercedes do. I'm just waiting.
Yeah,
for
Lando's
the
out first.
brackets to
Lando
come up.
Norris.
Obviously, they don't want to put any more laps on these tyres if they're going to be their race start tyres, if they can avoid it. But it does rather point towards, as far as Red Bull are concerned, still trying to get through on one stop tomorrow.
Back up and rolling again. 8 minutes and 42 seconds until qualifying's over. Now aiming to 40.
Anyway,
now 8 minutes and 40.
Maybe for the race as well.
Medium harder.
Okay.
They can tick over at the end of the pit lane like that quite happily for a decent amount of time. They just cut the cylinders and literally just about the engines go. Some of them can actually stop if they want to, can they, and fire it back up. But
yeah, Lando takes to the track. QT gets underway again.
And they'll get some.
I think Max Verstappen. Yeah, Max Verstappen's behind him.
Now, isn't he? So
Lewis Hamilton's out there as well. Nearly most of the drivers are out there, getting their laps in.
Are we going to get a bit of a mixture where those are on a hot lap and those that are coasting around?
This puts a bit of pressure on the drivers here because they can ill afford to make a mistake if it's only going to be one time lap from here. But they might.
Let's see what happens.
Time to. Well, you could do it one or two ways. Come in.
All the other drivers are out on track. It's in the garage. Some of them.
Medium tyre now, fuel for 2-time laps.
Yeah. You don't really want to carry a lap's worth of fuel around with you, though.
No, true.
It's going to cost you a 10th.
Yeah, Ferrari finished first and second in all practice and qualifying sessions here in 2019. Not this year.
As well, before he had.
Not this
power
year.
unit problems, and Lewis Hamilton went from third on the grid to take victory this time. Well,
yeah, landed on Max Finger and iRacing, yeah.
Quickly on the pole position here. He's finished third in 3 of the last 4 Grand Prix, as Charles Leclerc did last year as well.
Pushing somewhat harder on the outlap with the medium compound than the soft tyres. Obviously, they're more durable, much better race tyre. The sparking, I'm seeing some stuff on my Twitter saying, doesn't it slow the cars down? Dragging along like that, you know, all the sparks. I think because the titanium burns away.
Yep,
so
Verstappen's on a lap now. Versus sector 1.
Advantage of getting the car
purple sector
down
for
and close
Lando
to the track
Norris.
like that is
I mean,
obviously massively outweighs any kind of friction or drag you might be creating underneath the car.
Yeah, Verstappen's on a nice flyer. Nice flyer.
And a 28-0 for the
28-0 for the first sector for Max Verstappen.
And onwards he goes to the very tricky braking zone of turns 9 and 10. Now another DRS zone follows swiftly afterwards. 28-0 for the first sector for him. Alex Albon 10th down with a 28-1. Lando Norris with a 28-2 through that first sector.
28-2 for the first sector.
28.
Lando Norris.
37.
Verstappen goes faster sector 2, 105.8.
This looks like a very decent lap for the Red Bull here on these medium compound tyres. It was a 38.3 for Lando Norris and a 38.4 for Alex Albon during that middle sector. So plenty of time. Verstappen has in hand over his teammate once again. And Norris is also out there. And the time of a 1:28.0 then obviously goes to the top because he's the first time lap in this session. It's 0.8 slower for Lando Norris, and Alex Albon goes just under 0.8 slower in the second Red Bull.
Yeah, and Alex Albon was right out there where he crashed yesterday, wasn't he, coming out through the final corner, but is that enough to get him through?
Decent time from Sergio Perez as well, just behind Lando Norris by just a few thousandths of a second. Here's Lewis Hamilton, who's a 10th up on Max Verstappen.
Yeah, Lewis
through
Hamilton,
the first sector. Valtteri Bottas as well with a 27.9, just a few hundredths slower than his teammate, who now is over 0.3 up on Max Verstappen after his middle sector in this lap.
Yeah, it's all unfolding. Hamilton absolutely flying.
Yeah, Lewis Hamilton flying.
So I was going to say Valtteri Bottas, who struggled a bit this weekend, Martin. We've seen him locking up quite a bit. Lost 0.2 to Hamilton in the middle sector. Hamilton goes quickest overall.
Yeah, look at that. Mid-27s now. That's a whole new benchmark, isn't it? And on the medium tyres.
Just a bit, and half a second quicker than Valtteri Bottas. Max Verstappen splitting the two Mercedes on these medium tyres.
That looks like the story for the front of the grid, doesn't it?
Yeah, Hamilton goes faster, 127.5.
Well,
127.5.
Now with 4.5 minutes to go, we've seen laps from Hamilton, Verstappen, Bottas, Albon, Norris and Perez. For the top 3, Well, you'd imagine they'd be quite happy. Go and sit in the garage, and that's their job done for Q2. But
yeah, job done for
Perez,
Q2, all right.
Norris, Albon, they're going to have to go out again.
Yeah, I think that little run around the outside for Alex Albon leaves him under pressure for needing another run. There he is. But of course, you ideally just want to, you know, the tyres nicely kept. You'll start the race on them. That's the perfect position that Hamilton, Verstappen,
good
and
so
Bottas
far.
find themselves in.
Good qualifying. Standard qualifying.
Spectacular under the floodlights, but he won't enjoy seeing himself out there very often. He did have a pretty spectacular crash there yesterday. Great to see him walk away uninjured and unharmed, but you do not want to get out there very often.
No, and I think he had to just ease out of the throttle a bit after yesterday's experience.
Carlos Sainz back-to-back Q2 eliminations then.
Yeah, Sainz back-to-back Q2 eliminations. Back-to-back for Carlos Sainz.
Walked back into the McLaren garage, and he'll be forced to stand and watch the rest of this qualifying session as out comes Lance Stroll, second fastest during the first part of qualifying, and Esteban Ocon already out on the circuit as well. The tyres for him.
Lights make the cars look great, don't they? Really, the various liveries absolutely alive.
Just had a message from Ian Ward, part of Sky Cricket, that's covering the matches in South Africa. He says the cars look amazing, spectacular under the floodlights, almost as good as Johnny. Not yesterday, I think.
Wait, is that going to get a lot of time back up?
That was. Ocon on his way then. Negotiates the tricky turns 2 and 3, and to the next heavy braking zone, the hairpin at turn 4.
Yeah, hairpin at turn 4.
Pretty much as wide as you like today.
You can go wide as you like.
Stay on the white line. Well done,
Esteban. Turn 4, they've got rid of the track limits. Don't know what's going on here.
That's quick. Big stop at the bottom of the hill. Got to make the apex. We didn't make the apex. Straighten the car up. And let's see, he's just changed the brake bias a little bit.
Yeah, changed the brake bias.
So he didn't lock the front into turn 10.
Esteban Ocon.
And quickly it goes through you now. Once again then, look, he made 4 changes down there on the differential and the brakes. Ready for T11, which goes straight into turn 12.
Yeah.
And then 13 drops down the hill.
Straight into turn 12.
In the same place every lap, but it's still easy to get it wrong. And look at this lot parked to the bottom of the hill. He's
so they're keeping off the racing line, and Charles Leclerc just about keeping out of the way of the Renault.
Yeah, he changed lanes, didn't he, at the last moment?
Yeah, I think he got a call from the pit lane saying, yeah, more right hand down there, please, Charles, if you don't mind. 7th fastest then for Esteban Ocon.
Yeah, 7th fastest for Esteban Ocon, 7th fastest.
Into the final part of qualifying. It's the slowest of the 7 times that we have so far. Kvyat, we can pick up now on his flying lap. We've got a minute to go. Lando Norris has come out for another lap. Sergio
Lando
Perez
Norris
has come out for another lap. They're just going through turns 13 and 12 at the moment. Should be okay to get to the checkered flag in time before it starts flying and signals the end of the session. You've got to start your final flying lap before that checkered flag, and onwards then goes Kvyat on the medium compound tyres now in the Alpha Tauri. And that looked nice through turn 11. Looking at the sector times, 28.1 for Ricciardo, 28.2 for Sebastian Vettel through the first part
28.2, checker flag, end of Q2.
28.2 for Danny Kvyat in the middle part, is matched by Daniel Ricciardo in the Renault.
Yeah, so Albon then getting compromised, having to go out on a set of soft tyres. He really doesn't want to have to start the race on those if he can help it.
So Daniel Kvyat then crosses the line, and that is the slowest time that we've had so far. Daniel Ricciardo next across the line, goes 4th fastest, 2nd off the pace, but that should be good enough for him. Here comes Pierre Gasly, started 5th here once upon a time. He's not going to do that this year. 10th in Q2. across the line next with Charles Leclerc.
Charles Leclerc up to 11th.
In the elimination zone.
Leclerc onto into elimination zone, so not good for Leclerc. Vettel
Sebastian Vettel goes ahead.
Out qualifies Charles Leclerc.
Still Pierre Gasly at risk as Lance Stroll
out of Q2. Out of Q2, Lance Stroll.
Tire in the first part of qualifying can only manage 13th fastest in the second part of qualifying. Esteban Ocon coming back into the pits. He's aborted at that second lap because they think at Renault and they know at Renault that he is going to be safe. Pierre Gasly was the driver at risk, and once again Lando Norris can cruise towards the end of a lap because he is safe as well. Gasly goes through, 2 Ferraris eliminated in that second part of qualifying.
Vettel ahead of Leclerc again, not by much.
Vettel ahead of Leclerc, not by much, but he still out-qualified him.
And
like a flag Q2 over.
More than a few people out there quite fancy starting this race 11th if they're not going to get well into the top 10, because you've got free tyre choice then. Nonetheless, I thought one of the Ferraris would get through.
Sebastian Vettel, who went from 11th on the grid to finish 3rd in Turkey last time out, will be hoping to do something very similar here in Bahrain under the lights tomorrow. And for the second race in a row, he out-qualifies his teammate Charles Leclerc. Through the second sector, Leclerc had the advantage of the 2 Ferraris. But for sectors 1 and 3, it was Vettel on
in there, AlphaTauri's in there, Renault's in there, Red Bulls, the 2 Red Bulls are in there.
I had a couple of wobbles.
Vettel getting angry with the radio.
Sebastian Vettel.
Yeah, the elimination zone is 15th, Carlos Sainz 14th, George Russell.
Well, they share row 6.
Yeah.
14th, so 15th, Carlos Sainz out and disqualified. 14th, George Russell disqualified. 13th, Lance Stroll disqualified. 12th, Charles Leclerc disqualified. And 11th, Sebastian Vettel disqualified.
Because he's 9/10 slower than he was in Q1. And we know that these mediums, there's not a lot in it. It's between the soft and the medium in absolute pace, as Lewis Hamilton very clearly demonstrated out front.
Hamilton, Verstappen, Bottas, then the top 3. Both AlphaTauris making it through to Q3 for the second time in the last 3 races. But we've lost Carlos Sainz after that mechanical problem.
That's P13, Lance, P13.
There was miscommunication. Speak about it after.
Was he sent out and into traffic? Is that the issue? There, I wonder. Debrief will be had at Racing Point. We'll talk to Otmar Safnauer in a couple of moments and see if he can shed any light on that one as well. George Russell misses out along with Carlos Sainz and Lance Stroll. Charles Leclerc and Sebastian Vettel both out as well. And we can head during the gap now between Q2 and Q3 down to the Skypad Karun.
Yeah, thanks, Crofty. Just pulled up the middle sector here between Verstappen and Hamilton. Just have a look at what these guys are up to on the same tyre. And now we're going to pick them up as they head through this middle sequence of corners. One thing to look at is just the curb usage through the left-hand part here of this sequence of corners. We've seen different drivers, different approaches, but both drivers on this occasion, you could see using a similar amount of curb. Down into the hairpin. Nice, neat and tidy, really, for both of them. Real controlled aggression as they pick up the power. Let's slow it down as we go through the turn 10 hairpin.
Yeah, Hamilton hit that turn 10 hairpin.
Lewis chooses to go later and square off the corner a bit more, and he manages to straighten the car a little bit earlier than Max, and that'll free him up on the exit to get down the straight, just a fraction quicker, perhaps. Up at the end of the straight as they chuck into the fast left-hand corner. Verstappen in 5th gear, Lewis in 4th. So small differences, but Hamilton just able to sneak ahead by a little bit. Let's take a look at Carlos Sainz's moment, because very, very unusual here. We see just the point where he's down the straight, nice and comfortable. This isn't the point really where
you'd expect him to have this sort of an issue. So as Martin rightly highlighted in commentary, this doesn't look like driver error. This looks, you could see immediately that it's locked up, and at that point it is literally like pulling the handbrake. And if we carry on seeing it, he's just spun down. The wheels don't move. Look, the rear wheels, if you look at where the Pirelli logos were, they stay completely still. So on board with Carlos, and it's caught him by surprise. You know, it's ended up catching him off, catching him out at least 10 meters earlier than he wanted to turn in. It looks perhaps like an MGUK failure. Maybe that could have seized up, or a gearbox issue. But yeah, Simon, over to you.
Actually, Karun, yeah, someone from the McLaren comms department just whizzed past us there. They think it might be
Q3 is starting soon,
related, but by what?
Stay tuned, guys.
It could very much be BBW. Obviously, it's a complex system that is in the zone when you will be recovering the most amount of energy as well when you're coming off the main bulk of the pressure to slow the car down. But it could equally be caliper, brake disc, brake
just
pad.
lost drive,
But for it to
just
lock
completely
both
lost drive.
axles, it's pretty serious and fundamental in there.
Yeah, it's obviously quite good that we got lots of runoff. You know, it was no drama from safety point of view, but you know, these things are honking on a bit, aren't they? When they he's lost some speed anyway, so that was good. But it's disappointing because he can't show his full potential now in the. I'll get through to Q3.
Yeah, disappointing in front of the Bahrain. So Carlos Sainz from 15th. It was Vettel.
Yeah, Carlos Sainz 15th. Carlos
Russell and Sainz out there. It actually looks like most are going to be starting on the medium tyre inside the top 10 there.
Yeah, everybody kind of got through. They all had the same plan, didn't they? And that's a big thing. You know, the start tyre tomorrow, they needed to be on that. Soft is just so vulnerable. But you know, go on the soft tyre now. Have you got your balance on both? Because you need to compromise, and at the same point at the front, can Verstappen at least split the Mercedes, which would make it more exciting for us.
Stroll second in Q1, 13 out in 13th and out in Q2. He said a miscommunication.
Out in Q2, yeah.
We will talk after. Let's get the views of Otmar, I think, with David and Martin.
Yes, we've got
Otmar's going to talk again.
Otmar, come in.
Q3,
tell us about
green
the
flag.
miscommunication. What
About
happened?
to start.
Yeah, I'm not sure yet. I haven't had a chance to talk to Lance. Perhaps it was on the tire that we should go out on, but I don't know.
Was it? Did he go out on a used medium compound there?
He did, Martin. He was the only one that went out on the used medium as the red flag happened, I think, a quarter of way through his lap.
So that makes sense then in terms of the times. That's huge disappointment. You've got one car through into Q3 then. Sergio Perez.
Yeah, Sergio's through. It's unfortunate for Lance as he's he liked the car, was driving well. I just think it's a matter of only having the used medium. But let's see what Sergio can do, and then we can race from 13th. Lance has shown that he's a great starter, and if we overtake a couple people at the start, we're in the points.
This battle for third in the Constructors' Championship, a lot of fans understandably getting really energized by that fight, and to have one McLaren and a racing point
Q2,
outside of the
still,
top 10, both Renaults getting through into the top 10, it spices things up a bit, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely spices things up for the fans, but yeah, that kind of spice I don't like.
We'll take you for a curry instead, maybe that's a better spice for you.
Yeah, hope you enjoyed the stream, guys. Feel free to follow. I'm on Twitch and YouTube.
We'll never know if Otmar Safnauer
in the comments
likes
below
curry
and
or
in the
not.
description below.
But I can tell you the answer is probably yes. Thank you very much indeed to the Racing Point team principal. It does now put the pressure on Sergio Perez,
Guys,
doesn't it,
I'll be right
to
back.
do the job
I'll
for
play the
Racing
audio
Point
for
in
you.
this final part of qualifying. You've got two AlphaTauris up in the top 10, two Renaults in the top 10 as well, two Red Bulls with Albon and Verstappen, and two Mercedes hoping for an 11th front row lockout of the season.
It's the way it's looking. Come on, Max. Give us some sport. But I think if Lewis repeats that kind of pace, neither his teammate nor Max Verstappen will be beating that. Finding a half a second at this stage of an event. I know there's 15 corners officially, but and you sort of think, well, just brake a bit later, turn in a bit faster, hit the throttle a bit earlier, and if we can find a 10th per corner, we'll find a second and a half. But I had a few of those conversations.
Exactly.
You can't.
If you find half a second now, you'll be scratching your head longer tonight thinking, well, where was it for the rest of the weekend before now? So out we come, and it's soft tyres all around, as you would expect for Alex Albon, though. Had to use a set of soft tyres just to get through, didn't he, into this final part of qualifying. So I would imagine that's a used set that he's got on there. Red Bull team that have never qualified in the top 3 on this track in the hybrid era. Had success, of course, before that, but since the hybrid era, it's been Mercedes all the way, really.
And of course, if you do get through,
Q3 started now in Q3.
Of qualifying tyres, red mark.
So you get pole in the top 3.
All the way with 2 front row lockouts in the
so you get top 5 and stuff. So you get the
fastest
fastest time.
A couple of front row lockouts to add to that.
Personally, I think it's Hamilton.
The energy there that Danny Kvyat is trying to put through the tyres in his Alpha Tauri. Track temperatures dropped by another degree, 27 degrees
track temperatures
now.
dropped. Lando Norris on the lap now.
These are the conditions we
See how
had
he
yesterday
does.
morning after a bit of rain and cloud.
Norris on his first time lap. Let's see what position. Let's see what timing he gets.
So I'm assuming these will be used tyres as well. And we'll see what they've all got in the last
on the
run.
time lap.
Of course, you got a little bit less time as on each section of qualifying. Oh, look at that! Left front locked up. Took a lot of curb on the way in. Very adventurous there in terms of minimising the angle of that.
Yeah, Norris fastest sector 1, fastest.
You can actually hear the car skidding down the road, can't you?
Yeah, you can. I'm just looking here, Martin, to the final corner now. Max Verstappen's got himself in between.
Lando Norris Sparks coming out his car, he's doing good. Lando Norris.
Hamilton on his lap. Bottas is now
good lap
back
from
off
him.
a little bit, so he doesn't get too close to Max Verstappen.
Yeah, I wonder if Max.
Lewis Hamilton's getting faster sectors now. Lewis Hamilton
being in the dirty air through the corners later on in the lap. They're underway.
Might just be. Corinne Chandok yesterday saying that you get a distance
106.7 sector
if you're about 5 seconds behind the car in front. Either way, we're following Lando Norris towards the end of his lap. He's done a 38.3 for the middle sector. That's 3 tenths up on Daniel Kvyat. He was a couple of tenths down on Kvyat through the first sector. These are the scrap for the minor placings in Q3, or for placings really 4 downwards. Norris goes quicker by 4 tenths to Daniel Kvyat.
Norris goes quicker by 4 tenths. So the Perez on total 128.4, so Pierre Gasly second, 128.4. Lewis Hamilton now ahead with 127.6.
in the last 11
good lap
races.
from Mercedes and all the other drivers.
Now slower Norris on the used tyres, but Sergio Perez then putting a benchmark in there.
So a 128.4 from Sergio Perez, a 128.8
yeah, 128.4
from Pierre Gasly.
Max Verstappen up there, 127.8. Valtteri Bottas third with 127.9.
See, for the battle for pole position. Can anyone beat a 127.6, asks Lewis Hamilton. Max Verstappen.
Yeah, can anybody beat a 127.6? Because 127.6 is a really fast time from Lewis Hamilton. That might set up the qualifying right there.
And it's not a Mercedes.
Never say never, but you know.
Because Verstappen has put that Red Bull between the 2 silver arrows, as Alex Albon on a set of used soft tyres goes 6th fastest, and Esteban Ocon goes ahead of him, drops Albon down into 7th, and Albon seemingly enjoying this track more than his teammate Daniel Ricciardo.
Yeah, Renault's up there. Renault just turned the corner there in the third turn 1.
Season, but that's a decent lap from the Frenchman.
Absolutely. Esteban Ocon there, P6 at the moment. But we'll see. Alex Albon then, I think he could still end up in P4, Alex Albon.
Hamilton just go around with the deep corner. Deep braking zone corner in turn 9.
3 at the moment. It's still very much game on. Quarter of a second actually, isn't it?
So if Verstappen was trying to pick up a toe down the straight.
Yeah, I don't have the same rear grip either compared to FP3, so I don't know what's going on.
Verstappen's head doesn't know what's going on. He doesn't know what's going on.
Understood.
Christian just says understood or was right engineer.
I didn't pick that up, I'm afraid. certainly
the same, but you know,
the tyres were overheating.
Yeah, speed trap.
Just a little bit. Does that mean he needs to go
Roman goes on, got the top speed trap. Doesn't really mean nothing.
Just under a tenth down
Doesn't
to
mean
that first
nothing, really.
sector if he was getting a toe maybe. He got a bit disturbed through the corners as well. Overall, I think he'll be quite pleased to be in a position where he is in a front row as it stands at the moment. This is Lando Norris. As Martin mentioned,
Lando Norris doing the replay.
Quite a bit more, and if you're just joining us, we'll repeat it
Lando
again.
Norris spots coming out his car, locking up.
Track limits now at turn 4, so he won't get a lap time penalised by that. And he locked up going into the corner.
Yeah, what does?
And you don't want to be out there very often as well, Martin.
Albo's going wide in some corners, he's going out wide. He's going wide on some corners, spots coming out his car's going too much in the curbs.
Thankfully, but it's still not the right place to be.
No. Right, Ted Kravitz in the grandstands.
Verstappen, it was rear grip, Crofty. I don't have the same rear grip as I had in Q2, and it seems like he's not the only one. Looking down towards Renault, Daniel Ricciardo has just done a lap there in Q3 at 29.5. That's almost a second slower than he did at the end of Q2 when he did a 28.6, I believe. So something's changed out there. I'm not feeling any difference in terms of wind, strength or direction, blowing any sand onto the track. Doesn't seem to be
all the drivers in the pit lane now, all the drivers.
If they can find some speed for the next one. But Danny Rick's going to have to find a second to get up to the heights of his Q2 time.
He's topping the speed trap, Daniel Ricciardo at 200 miles an hour. But
yeah, Ricciardo's topping the speed trap with 203 miles per hour, along with Ocon 202 miles per hour, and third, Russell 202 miles per hour. Yeah, they're topping there.
You need the downforce for the corners, but you don't really need the drag down the straights. You can't have it both ways. So
the timesheets, the speed traps, I mean, not timesheets. So yeah.
So, and of course they can add and subtract a little bit of front wing under Parc Fermé regulations, but you can't change the rear wing, and it's not the work of a moment anyway.
Yeah,
so
Hamilton and Bottas out there.
Heading out into the night
Coming
time
out.
Once again.
Last laps, this is the pressure part.
Mercedes power that has powered its way to pole in every single race so far this season, be it for the Works team, for the Silver Arrows, or for Lance Stroll at the Racing Point team. Last time out, can Max Verstappen find a 1/10.5 to go faster than Lewis Hamilton? Well, he needs to find more than a 1/10.5 if Hamilton improves on that time of a 1:27.6. And pole last year, a 1:27.86 from Charles Leclerc. So we've beaten already, haven't we, the all-time lap record set by the Ferrari last year.
So
yeah, that's Ferrari's got the all-time record here. Last year, I think it was like timing or something,
a little bit
but
more clear here. Daniel Ricciardo really wants to go slowly, doesn't he, on these brand new tyres? Just not to fire up the surface, not to make the surface molten, not to take any life out of it, to start to rip the compound apart. You want to lean on that as little as possible on the outlap. That's how close to the edge.
Yeah,
this is a pure
this is nearly the end of qualifying now.
Tyre.
Well, that is. Verstappen normally
everybody
set
their best. Everybody on the grid,
others around him. And if he employs that same tactic at the moment, he's probably going to catch Lando Norris a little bit quicker than he really wants to, either on this outlap or on the flying lap. He might need to start backing off a bit to Lando Norris because he's getting
yeah, he needs to back off a bit to Lando Norris because
if he does start his flying lap behind Norris, he's going to get disturbed by the air coming off the car in front.
Lewis has got a nice clear track ahead of him. He's the leader of the pack, all 10 of them on track.
Yeah, all 10 of them on the track.
If somebody does spin off behind you, if you're out front, if there's not a lot of track evolution, you can,
Hamilton,
of course,
going for a lap now, 1 minute to go.
By any shenanigans.
See how people do on these laps.
It's a red flag.
Hamilton starts his lap. Come on.
9 poles already this season for Lewis Hamilton. Provisional
not sure if that 1:27.6 will be beaten, you know.
Taken pole twice before, and off he goes on his final lap of this qualifying
speed track Lewis Hamilton 198 miles per hour. See what Hamilton
drives with a great amount
first
of
sector is purple, I think. Yeah, he's purple.
And he's applied so much technique to his sort of natural speed
Yeah, the applying technique to speed can go wide as possible.
It's unremarkable.
On that call, you can go wide as you want. Sector 1 purple. He's smashing his fire lap now.
Every aspect
smashing
of
it.
A cornering phase together. The braking, the turn in, picking up the throttle. He's not stunningly late on the brakes. He's not stunningly early on the throttle on the way out. Just a lovely flow. Really,
yeah, lovely flow, Hamilton. 2 purple sectors. Come on, let's face it, Lewis Hamilton's got pole. Lewis Hamilton has got pole. Clearly.
But Hamilton has the edge in terms of
yeah, he has the edge.
And also on this lap compared to teammate.
Hamilton, 3 fastest sectors. He's got it. He's got pole. He's got pole. A 127.2. Jesus Christ. Where's Bottas?
Hidden in the
Bottas isn't improving that much.
Decision then on brakes.
Yeah, checker flag. Valtteri Bottas into the second position. Looks like Mercedes has locked out the front row. Lewis Hamilton, pole position at 127.2. Valtteri Bottas, second place with 127.5. Yeah, Hamilton, provisional pole. Max Verstappen, third place with 127.6. And Alex Albon, 128.2 in fourth place.
Valtteri Bottas and Max Verstappen deny him. It's Bottas to the line first. He misses out by nearly 0.3 of a second. It's a Mercedes 1-2 with Verstappen making his way around the final corner.
Yeah, Verstappen making his way around the final corner. Third place still.
And he can't make it to the front row. It's Mercedes with an 11th front row lockout of 2020.
Yeah, 11th front row lockout of 2020. Mercedes
does make the second row ahead of Daniel Ricciardo.
Yeah, Albon makes it ahead of Daniel Ricciardo. Now Perez has beat Ricciardo.
Qualify his Renault teammate. No, sadly, for the 14th time this season, he misses out on that particular honour. Ocon, 6th fastest in the end. Behind Ricciardo is 5th. Gasly 7th. Perez now is 8th fastest. Make that 5th fastest for Sergio Perez. And another decent qualifying lap from the Mexican. Lando Norris and Danny Kvyat complete the top 10 in 9th and 10th.
Yeah, Danny Kvyat complete top 10.
And we've said that 10 times previously this season. That's 11 front row lockouts for Mercedes.
Yeah, 11 front row lockouts for Mercedes.
Lewis had the edge by some.
Lewis, you're on pole. Great work, guys.
On pole.
I mean, sometimes that could just be a recording, couldn't it? And just play it out to him. But Alex Albon then, so it's sort of 2 by 2, isn't it? It was very much.
Yeah, Albon 128.2. Let's face it, compared to Max Verstappen, that isn't good, mate. That isn't good for Albon compared to Max Verstappen. Oh, Max Verstappen's in the 127s and out in 127.6s, and Alex Albon's in the 128.2s.
You got everything out of it you could. Well done.
Yeah, luckily starting on the clean side.
Yeah, Verstappen luckily on the clean side.
Slipstream down into turn 1 behind the 2 Mercedes, so he's. I can understand why he's not unduly unhappy with that.
Third on the grid, won it for Lewis Hamilton last season here in Bahrain. Hamilton starts on pole this year for the 5th year in a row.
5th year in a row.
It's a front row lockout.
Starts on pole this year, Bahrain.
2 to Ferrari. And
yeah, I mute the mic now and I'll let you listen to the interview. So yeah, I'll turn the audio now.
Twilight race tomorrow. Lewis Hamilton rather gingerly gets out of his car, wipes the dust off his racing boots, and for the 98th time in his Formula 1 career, walks over to his crew and says, "Hey, I'm on pole, you know." 98 pole positions for Lewis Hamilton.
You wouldn't want to slip off the front of a highly polished Formula 1 car with all those antennas sticking up, would you?
It'd be a bit embarrassing after being so excellent on the track, then to trip over to get out of the car.
It's painful as well.
Yes, I would imagine so. It's if the message to Lewis Hamilton that had a feeling of, well, that could have been recorded. Maybe you could have predicted this as well. Valtteri struggled a bit compared to his teammate so far this weekend. We've seen him locking up a few times, and in the end, nearly 3/10 off.
Yeah, it's just a blink of an eye, but it's usually Valtteri's eye that's blinking, isn't it?
Well, drivers starting third on the grid have won 2 of the last 3 Bahrain Grand Prix. Maybe that will help Max Verstappen to energise himself for the race as well. It's Hamilton, Bottas and Verstappen starting in the top 3 once again this weekend. They seem to have those top 3 in qualifying all between themselves at the moment. 9 times in the last 12 races they've shared now the top 3. That's a 75th front row lockout in their history for Mercedes as they extend their record even further. And just in case you think it's not that hot in the desert, Max has got a bit of a sweat on there. I'm sure needs every last drop of that cold bottle of water.
Yeah, you're surrounded by hot brakes, hot engine and gearbox, the radiators, loads of electrical kit inside the cockpit, 4 layers of clothing. It can be 50 plus inside the cockpit, so it's pretty warm at the best of times.
It is, but David Coulthard is waiting for him now. He's had a refreshing glass of water. Let's hear from the top 3 down in Parkford.
Right. Yeah, Leclerc was in it, and then he had turbo failure. Turbo failure, I think.
That was a debrief about last year's race.
A very familiar qualifying position for you. It did look at one point you were really putting Valtteri under pressure for that front row. Did you leave anything out on the racetrack?
No, I don't think so. My lap was pretty good. Just lacking a bit of rear grip in the lower speed corners to my liking. But overall, I think it was quite a decent qualifying. And yeah, let's see how we will go tomorrow in the race, because it's very hard on tires. So I hope we made the right compromise for that.
So you say you made that compromise. So what can we expect tomorrow? From what you've seen through free practice, how hard can you push the Mercedes?
It's always a bit difficult to say. I definitely do think they picked up their pace a bit today. So even tomorrow will be, let's say, hard to beat them. But we have different tires available. So let's see if that works to our advantage or not. I just hope that it will be an exciting race. I think that's the most important.
Your teammate Alex lines up beside you. Does that give you a sort of rear gunner? Does that give you a bit of extra support when you're going into what is a tricky first corner here?
Yeah, well, let's see what happens. I just try to focus on myself. Try to stay close to the Mercedes cars, and then I'll see if somebody can follow us.
Okay, Max, we wish you all the best for tomorrow. So the Mercedes drivers, they may be fast on the racetrack, they're a bit slow to get to the interviews, but Valtteri, well, story of the season really. You're close, but just a little bit lacking in the outright performance to Lewis. You have the opportunity to see the live data during qualifying. Where was it that you were better than Lewis on the lap, and where was it that he had the legs on you today?
I don't really know, actually. It felt good. That's the problem, when it feels good and you feel that you're extracting everything out of the car, but the lap time is not there. That's the most confusing part. But yeah, well, I can't really say much at the moment. There was no mistakes, and the last lap I thought it was really good. So it was like small things here and there. There was no one clear corner. So yeah, I need to find out, but at least it's another front row lockout for us.
Yeah, and that gives a good opportunity. It is a tricky run down to that first corner. It sounds to me like, instinctively that was a tidy lap, and you say the time's just not there. Do you think that you could have an underlying issue, or in terms of the performance of the car, or do you think it's just one of those things today, the car just didn't give you the feedback?
I don't think there's any underlying issue really with the performance of the car. I think it's there, and long runs were good, so yeah, I'm looking forward to tomorrow.
Okay, we wish you luck.
Thank you.
And finally, the pole man. Lewis, your 98th pole. By the end of the season, you could have done a century if you keep this up next weekend and then again in Abu Dhabi. That would be quite a nice number to round out what has been a championship-winning year. It doesn't look to me like the celebration of winning that seventh title and then again in Abu Dhabi. That would be quite a nice number to round out what has been.
Turn it down a bit so you guys can hear it.
It doesn't look to me like the
trying to make
celebration of winning that seventh title and then again.
My mind and the eye on the ball. But this is, the continuation of what we're able to do together as a team. I just continue to be amazed by my guys, naturally, that work so hard weekend in, weekend out. Now they're away from their families for 3 weeks. And it's, no matter what the season's, whatever was thrown at us, it's always a really tough year. And I appreciate them. And, to be out here in Bahrain and be able to put laps like that together is definitely you know, I came today and I was like, let's just have fun, let's enjoy. Like, that's the most important thing, is to enjoy what you're doing, you know. And I think with the pressure a little bit off, it's a bit of a release to go and drive like I just did. So.
I've heard you before say you've never driven the perfect lap. You aspire to the perfect lap, but there's always, in retrospect, somewhere you could have improved. So what was this Bahrain pole position lap like?
What was the lap like?
Yeah, where was you know, if there was more time to be gained, where could you? And why didn't you?
I mean, because I am on the ragged edge, naturally, and it's all about, you know how it is through a lap. It's about trying to find that perfect balance of you want to take quite a lot on the way in and keep the exit. You want your cake and eat it. So it's about just chipping away at it during the lap. And I think the lap started off really well. There was probably a little bit of time in turn one, just a little bit underperformed, I would say, a little bit towards the apex, but then after that it's good. 4, 6 was a little bit slower, than I probably could have gone a little bit better there, but then, you know, so I can talk you through the lap, and I can tell you that there's always just a little bit here and there. But the next lap I go out, maybe I'll improve there and I'll lose somewhere else. So, no, but otherwise it was a very clean lap. I generally stayed around 2.5 tenths up throughout it, and so yeah, I was really happy with it.
Okay, well, an analytical lap from a perfect pole. Lewis, we wish you well tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thanks.
There we go, always striving for perfection, and more often than not, he gets pretty close, doesn't he, these days? Lewis Hamilton, as he was saying, the pressure off now that the championship is secured. What it means is that he relaxed into his pole of the season, the 98th of his career. Mercedes with a 75th front row lockout in their Formula One history. Funny enough, Hamilton, Bottas and Verstappen are the top 3 qualifiers for the 9th time in the last 12 races. Not always in the order they finished in today. And what we're hoping is that Max Verstappen will be able to put some pressure from third on the Mercedes, as he was saying. Once he's got his teammate alongside him, but we shall see if that happens. 12:30 we're on for a 2 start. There's some football to tell you about as well, plenty of it over the course of the weekend. Everton up against Leeds from 5 o'clock. All of these on Sky Premier League. West Brom against Sheffield United from 7:45. Southampton against Manchester United from 1 o'clock. Chelsea Tottenham, big London derby, is the main game from 4, and then Arsenal against Wolves from 7 o'clock. Monday Night Football is also a double-header. Leicester up against Fulham from 5, and the later game West Ham against Aston Villa. So loads of football and loads to look forward to tomorrow in the build-up to Lake Town.
Stroll is on pole for the first time in his career. Yes, boys! Let's go! Let's go!
Can you describe what it felt like leading the Grand Prix?
It was quite nice. I mean, no one in front of me, so yeah, it was just a beautiful day to be leading a race.
We wanted it to have more downforce for the same drag. Yeah, everyone wants that. We wanted it to have more power. We wanted to make sure that the sweet handling behaviour that we'd built into the race car was still there, but we wanted to make sure that we had a car that was a bit sharper in qualifying.
Normally every year you go to the same tracks over and over again. It's a bit like a routine, you know. And then when things get a bit spiced up and, you know, shuffled around, I think it makes it all a bit more interesting.
Eat, sleep, pole, win, repeat. I think that's the story of Lewis's season. He really didn't get out of first gear there, did he?
No, I'm running out of superlatives, really. And as DC was mentioning, you know, I'm sure he's got it in his mind. Wouldn't it be nice to end up with the season with 100 pole positions? And it's doable.
You can't take it away from him, can you? But you can see Bottas is just confused. He's there, he's had an average day, he's a couple of tenths behind, and that's when you have an average day in Formula 1 or any motorsport, when it's your teammate, you go away kind of scratching your head and thinking you've had a bad day. But, you know, Lewis has got the job done, he's got pole position. But listen, Red Bull are getting close, they're getting very close, and Lewis would have a harder job if Max was in that other Mercedes, that's one thing for sure. But I just hope tomorrow is everything we saw yesterday, and that was that the tyres are fragile, and it's not a given, even if if you've got pole position, that you're not going to degrade your tyres quicker than the other car.
Yeah, you wonder, don't you, tomorrow? I mean, the thing's pointing towards a two-stop. Again, when we get mixture of ones and twos, we talk about it so often, we get some good racing, and under the lights here, it has come alive, hasn't it, since 2014?
Yeah, because there's a difference between peak performance, you know, with fresh tyres, which is what we're just watching here with Lewis not even using all the curb on the exit on the last corner. You know, there's a difference between the peak performance and the race performance, because the race performance things get a little bit blurred, the tyres aren't so crisp and you start to slide around a bit, so it's possible to do a bit of strategy.
Okay, before we get a flurry of drivers up here, let's head to the Skypad. Karun.
Hour before you stream the game
Simon.
yourself.
I've got the two fastest laps here from the Mercedes drivers. So Hamilton on the left, Bottas on the right. 3/10 across the lap between them. Let's take a look at where that is. The first difference I noticed was down at turn 1 on the exit. Lewis using a bit more road there, and that would have compromised his run through turn 2. The left-hander, they're still flat. I mean, the Mercedes got so much grip, but slightly different line through that run. Bottas, in fact, opening up the exit, and when they get up to the top of the hill, we can use the marker board on the left. You can see Valtteri's actually got there ahead. So sector 1, Valtteri has done a very good job before turn 4. They're pretty even, actually, on the run through turn 4. Lewis using a bit more road on the way out. When you look at the middle sector, this is where, again, Lewis starts to bring it back a little bit. Down to the hairpin here, I notice, you can see he's now snuck through in front. So if we just bring it back to the apex, you can see in that middle part of the lap through 5, 6, 7, he's carried just a bit more. Similar use of the curb, but he's now managed to get himself ahead of Bottas. Up at the top of the hill, 9 and 10, we've talked about this sequence a lot. Both drivers changing the brake balance. Watch the different lines here. Bottas, on the way in, he does use a slightly wider line to Hamilton. You can see Lewis closer to the curb on the left. It doesn't make a huge difference, but at this point, Hamilton winds the lock on and makes sure he winds it off sooner than Bottas does. Look, just fractionally. And that just releases the car on the way out of the corner, down this back straight, and he carries that little bit earlier that he's got on the power. He carries the momentum down. If we use this marker board, you can see he's now a fraction ahead, but it's carried on from turn 8, so it's not a big difference. A very, very similar to this corner. Bottas using a bit more road. But up at turn 13, this is where Hamilton was sensational. He carried so much speed through the apex here, and if I use there's a road coming up on the left. Look at that. Look how much he's gained on Bottas using this black board, this black bit of paint we got on the side of the track. Bottas is this far behind him, and it's really turn 13 is the big difference between the two drivers.